I'm now going to begin to talk to you about the criteria. I've talked to you about the need to evaluate and rank and giving feedback, but let's be clear about what you're actually looking for and where you can give valuable feedback to the students. For each of the projects that you're going to get, there is a judge sheet. And this judge sheet, as I'll talk about a little bit later, this is where you put your written comments. But it is very useful because it gives you the criteria listed here. And the criteria, the kinds of things that you're looking for, that you're giving commentary on, are ranked kind of in this order. First and foremost, you're looking at the history. And this may seem simple and obvious, but it's very important to remember and not be dazzled by quality of the performance, but you continue to look and prioritize looking for the historical work that they've done. Students are expected to have done primary and secondary research for their History Day project. Primary, minimum of 2 sources. Obviously, a better project has many more than that. But the first thing you're looking at is research. Bibliography is part of every project. It is a part of your judging, and it's absolutely something where you can give useful feedback on. Did they do sufficient research? Did they do something more than Wikicommons, Ask Yahoo, right? And maybe an encyclopedia entry? We want more substantive research. And in this day with the internet, we have much higher expectations than we did in 1991 of the kind of research students can be doing. They need to be doing secondary research, scholarly articles, etc., and hopefully books, right? Chapters out of books, but they certainly need to be doing primary research. That's where you can give very useful feedback. Often they don't know where to look. This whole thing is a learning process for them. One of the things they can learn is, what I often find myself saying is, did you think about looking at newspapers at the time, right, to get a sense of how people felt? So, suggesting newspapers or diaries or autobiography that you know about. Give them an idea of how they might have fleshed out or strengthened their primary sources. If they have really good research, that's a very strong asset as you're doing the evaluation and ranking. So research comes first. Then when they're analyzing it, secondly, of course, they have to provide analysis. And this is a huge jump for a lot of students, is going beyond just saying this happened and this happened and this happened, and actually analyzing it, coming to conclusions, talking about why, talking about effects, providing a thesis statement and supporting that. It is not a jump that all students can make, and that's fine, because again, we don't expect them to all be expert in history. They're here to learn about history. Narration is actually a skill that's difficult to master, and if they've done that, that's terrific. They've told the story well. They've told it accurately. If they do that, then give them good feedback, that they told a good story, that they showed their understanding of the story. But the truly stellar work, and where you can help them make that leap, is to understand history is not just saying what happened. It's talking about whys and so whats, about consequences. So what you're looking for in the really good projects is that there is analysis taking place, that they're thinking and coming to conclusions and supporting that conclusion. So you're looking for research, and you're looking for analysis of that research. Other of the criteria, right, in terms of historical work, you're looking for balance. This is tough, especially for younger kids, especially on really difficult topics, as they can get really emotional. They can take a side. It becomes a manifesto and a statement of, opinions instead of a more balanced approach. Balance doesn't mean that they agree with both sides, but they have to at least acknowledge the other side. It's not like all good guys, all bad guys, everything was great, everything was horrible. They have to show an understanding of balance in history. And again, that's an intellectual leap for them, and you're helping them to make that. And if they don't quite get that, then you gently explain to them, well, you only talked about one side of this issue. You needed to at least acknowledge maybe what the other side was, or some of the negative aspects of this largely positive consequence. So balance. Another big one is context, right? They have to center their story in where it's taking place. And this is a big problem nowadays because students research by Googling. So they'll Google Japanese internment camps. Goes right to stuff about Japanese internment camps, and they don't read anything broader, right? They're not browsing more extensive research or resources to understand the bigger picture, right? They just go right to the little specific point, and they don't get that bigger picture. Like it happened in World War II, right? The context of that was World War II, or the space race. If they don't talk about the Cold War, how can they really be talking about what led to and implications of the space race? They don't have a lot of time, they don't have a lot of words, so we don't expect them to do lengthy context, but they have to show their understanding of that background. This is the bigger picture, this is a piece of that picture, this is the context in which things took place. So that's an area where often students are quite weak. They just jump right into it, just like they don't like to do introductions on essays, they don't like to do context. That's where you can help them understand that's necessary, set the stage. So these are the kinds of things that you're looking for as you evaluate their history. And again, this list helps you keep in mind those criteria. Matt, the final thing you're looking at, the final 20% of your estimation, is quality, right? Is the clarity of presentation, and obviously that differs for format. In essays, it's effective writing, paragraph structure. In the websites, it's that there's a flow to the links, that you can follow the organization of that website, that the pictures aren't fuzzy and too small, just basically communication skills. In performance, it's obviously that they didn't forget their lines, or they didn't talk so fast you didn't hear them. The media, right, that it's not scruffy and gives you, motion sickness, that it's smooth. It's basically communication skills, which are important. But, and here's the key caveat, that is not the most important thing. This is where we're relying on your expertise as judges. We can have very slick media productions, beautiful emotional performances, but their bibliography is really weak. There's no clear thesis. They're just kind of telling a story. They're not analyzing it. That project should not go on. The project that's maybe a little scruffier, where the person forgot their lines and then picked it up, but their bibliography is 4 pages long with extensive primary sources where there's an intriguing thesis that they're presenting, the scruffier project should go. The stronger history should determine. And sometimes that's a very hard one to call, but that's why we depend on your expertise and your professionalism, because you do need to not be swayed by brilliant performances or slick media production, but look at the substance, look at the history. So these are your criteria. You'll have, again, a sheet for each of your projects to help you remember that as you're evaluating. But those are the criteria you look at.